Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. My name's Clara. I'm 32, and right now, I feel like I'm unraveling from the inside out. There's this weight I've been carrying for months, no, years, and I don't think I can keep it hidden anymore. It's like a secret confession I've been too scared to say aloud. But here's the thing, it all started with something so ordinary, so mundane, a light bulb. We've been together for 7 years. 7 years of what I thought was love, stability, excitement. I still remember when we first met, how his touch sent shivers down my spine, how our conversations flowed like a river, endless and alive. Those nights when we'd fall asleep wrapped around each other, feeling safe, like nothing could touch us. I craved that closeness, that fiery pulse beneath the surface. It felt like we were invincible. But now? Now, the touches are different. They're polite but distant, almost hesitant. Like when he kisses me goodnight, but it's quick, clipped, like he's checking off a box rather than savoring a moment. Or when we try to cuddle on the couch, but I find myself pulling away because the warmth feels forced, mechanical. There's this coldness that creeps in, subtle and unspoken, and it makes my skin crawl with loneliness. Last week, I found myself leaning against the doorframe while he fixed the broken light bulb in the hallway. The light flickered and died as he wrestled with it, and then, almost out of nowhere, he glanced at me and said, "Come to the bedroom after this." At first, my heart fluttered, maybe this was our moment, a spark rekindled. But as I followed him, something in me hesitated. That small invitation felt like a test, a request that was more about obligation than desire. When the door clicked shut behind us, the silence that filled the room was heavier than any words we could say. I wanted to reach out, to touch him like I used to, but my hand hovered awkwardly, unsure. His eyes darted away, avoiding mine, and the air between us thickened with things unsaid. There was no hunger there, no fire, just a quiet resignation that made my chest ache. That night, as he lay beside me, his arm draped lazily over my waist, I realized something had changed. The warmth I once sought in his embrace had cooled into something distant and unfamiliar. I wasn't sure when the light had gone out, the light in him, in us, but I felt it fading, slipping away with every unanswered question and every touch that didn't reach me. And that's when I knew, I was losing myself in this relationship, in the space between us that kept growing wider every day. I was scared, but more than that, I was exhausted. Like I was holding on to a version of us that no longer existed. So, here I am, confessing to you, and maybe to myself, that the moment after he fixed the light bulb and asked me to come to the bedroom wasn't the start of something new. It was the moment I finally saw how far we'd fallen apart. I still remember that night after the light bulb was fixed, not because it was magical, but because it felt like a turning point. Jake, my boyfriend, works as an architect, which means his days are often long, filled with meetings and site visits. He's practical, detail-oriented, the kind of man who solves problems with his hands, which is probably why he fixed that stupid light bulb without a second thought. He tries. God, he tries. I see it every day. But his way of trying? It's through physical gestures, like a language he's mastered but one I'm struggling to translate. After that night, he reached out to touch me, a hand on my back, a lingering hug when I was standing in the kitchen, fingers brushing my arm as he passed by. All of it was meant to say, "I love you," but I felt like I was drowning under a tide of touches I wasn't ready for. I wanted him to see me first. To look past the surface, past the skin, and notice the way my eyes darted away, the slight tremble in my voice when I tried to say something real. But every time I opened my mouth, the words caught in my throat. How do you tell someone you feel invisible when they keep trying to fix everything with a touch? One evening, after a long day where everything at work felt like a test I was failing, Jake came home early. He found me sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the muted TV. Without a word, he crossed the room and sat down next to me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. His warmth should have comforted me, but instead, I flinched, pulling back slightly. He frowned, confused. "What's wrong, Clara?" I'm fine, I muttered, but the words tasted bitter and hollow. He squeezed my shoulder. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. But that's exactly it. I did want to say something. I needed to say something, but how do you explain feeling emotionally parched when someone's trying to drown you in physical affection? How do you tell the man you love that his hands, though gentle, feel like they're smothering you instead of holding you? That night, I lay awake while Jake drifted off beside me, his breathing steady, his arm thrown carelessly over the blanket. I longed for his touch to mean more than just a reflex, more than a simple gesture of comfort. I needed to know he saw me, the parts one don't say aloud, the fears I hide behind forced smiles. Our backgrounds couldn't be more different, and sometimes I think that's part of why we're struggling. Jake grew up in a small town where affection was shown through actions, not words. His dad fixed things, built things, and his mom worked quietly behind the scenes. Love, to him, is practical, a repaired light bulb, a cooked meal, a hand on your back. Me? I was raised by parents who talked about feelings, who sat with discomfort and sadness and tried to name it. Emotional honesty was a currency in my family, not something you dodged. Maybe that's why I crave more than a touch, I need words, acknowledgement, vulnerability. We're caught in this cycle. He offers contact, I pull away, I withdraw emotionally, he doubles down physically. Neither of us is wrong. Neither of us is right. One morning, I made coffee while Jake got dressed for work. He kissed my cheek, brief, almost businesslike, and headed out without looking back. I stood in the kitchen, feeling more alone than I had in months. Later that day, I texted him, trying to bridge the silence, "Can we talk tonight? I miss us." His reply was quick, "Of course. I love you." But when night came, the conversation stalled before it even started. We sat across from each other at the dinner table, plates half empty, eyes avoiding connection. I wanted to say, "I'm hurting. I feel like I'm disappearing. I don't need more hands on me, I need to feel you here with me." But the words wouldn't come out. Instead, I reached for his hand, and he responded by pulling me close. I felt his breath against my hair and knew he was trying to comfort me the only way he knew. Yet the tightness of his embrace, the way he seemed desperate to fix things by pressing against me, made the ache inside deepen. We're both trying to love, but it's like we're speaking different languages, and every attempt feels like it pushes us further apart. The light in our relationship flickers, just like that broken bulb, and I don't know how long before it goes out for good. That night, Jake came home later than usual, tired but still trying to bridge the distance between us. When he stepped through the door, his eyes caught mine and softened just enough to give me hope. He walked over, wrapped his arms around me, and pulled me close. I wanted to melt into him, to let his warmth remind me of the man I fell in love with. But instead, my body stiffened. He pressed a kiss to my temple, his breath warm against my skin. "I missed you today," he whispered. I smiled faintly, but inside, I felt a strange hollow. I wanted to believe him, wanted to believe in us. But the kiss that followed, meant to be tender and reassuring, felt off. His lips brushed mine, but I felt nothing. Not the flutter, not the heat, just an echo of a feeling I used to know. I pulled back slightly, and Jake noticed. "Hey, what's wrong?" His voice was gentle, but tinged with confusion. "I'm fine," I lied, turning my face away. I could feel the tension coil in my chest like a tight spring ready to snap. He didn't push, only settled beside me on the couch, pulling me into his side. I let him for a moment, but when his hand slid lower, resting just a little too firmly on my hip, I flinched. A part of me wanted to lean into that touch, to close the gap between us, but another part recoiled, like my skin suddenly didn't recognize him anymore. Jake laughed softly, trying to lighten the mood with a playful slap on my lower back, but it felt intrusive rather than affectionate. I barely managed a smile. "Clara?" I turned toward him, frustration spilling out before I could stop it. Why does everything have to turn into sex? Why can't we just be close without that pressure? He looked hurt, his brows knitting together. "I'm just trying to show you I care." I know. I swallowed hard. But sometimes, it feels like that's all we have left, just physical stuff, and I'm not sure I even want it anymore. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Jake's fingers traced patterns on my arm, careful now, almost hesitant. I don't want to lose you, Clara. I don't want to lose you either, I whispered, but the words felt fragile, like they might shatter if spoken too loudly. I wanted to want him. I wanted to crave his touch like I used to. But my heart was tangled in confusion, wrapped tight in a fear I couldn't name. Every kiss felt like a test I was failing, every touch a reminder of how far we'd drifted. I leaned back against the cushions, trying to steady myself. My skin still tingled where his hands had been, but the warmth was missing. I closed my eyes and whispered to the quiet room, "Why does everything have to turn into sex?" The dinner table was set with candles flickering softly, the kind of gentle light I used to associate with warmth and intimacy. Jake had made an effort, cooked my favorite meal, poured the wine just right. I wanted this night to be different. I wanted to find a thread, a sliver of the connection we once had. But as soon as we sat down, the tension settled in like a thick fog. He reached across the table to brush a stray lock of hair behind my ear. It was a small gesture, tender in theory, but it made my skin crawl. I pulled back, suddenly unable to swallow the tight lump forming in my throat. "I don't want you to touch me like that," I blurted out, surprise and frustration cracking my voice. Jake froze, confusion washing over his face. "Clara, what? Why?" "I'm tired, Jake. Tired of pretending everything's okay when it's not." My voice trembled as the dam broke. "I feel like I'm living in a house with the lights off and you keep fixing the bulbs without ever looking at the wiring behind the walls." He blinked, silent for a moment, then shook his head. "I don't understand what you mean." The tears started then, unexpected and hot, spilling down my cheeks. "After you fixed that damn light bulb last week, you told me to come to the bedroom. I thought maybe things could be different, maybe we could feel something real again. But it's like you just want me to turn on the switch without ever caring if there's power left." I felt raw, exposed, my voice breaking with every word. "I want you, Jake. I want you, but I don't know how anymore. You try, but it's like we're strangers sharing a house, not lovers sharing a life." Jake's face tightened, his jaw clenched as anger bubbled beneath the surface. "So this is about sex now? You think I'm just after that? After you?" "No. It's not just that." I shook my head, wiping my face with the back of my hand. "It's everything. The distance, the silence, the way your touch feels like a demand instead of a gift. I'm tired of feeling invisible." The room fell into a suffocating silence. Jake pushed his chair back abruptly, standing so fast his chair scraped the floor. "Maybe you don't want this anymore. Maybe you don't want me." I flinched at his words, though part of me feared they were true. "I do want us," I whispered, voice barely audible. "But I don't know how to fix what's broken." He left the room without another word, the front door clicking shut behind him. The house felt colder, emptier. I sat alone, tears still streaming, the candlelight flickering uncertainly like the fragile hope I was clutching. Later, as I lay on the bed, I replayed every moment in my mind. The frustration, the outburst, the way I'd shouted about a light bulb, something so small, so insignificant, yet somehow it had become the symbol of everything that was wrong between us. Guilt crept in slowly, settling deep in my chest. Had I been unfair? Was I punishing him for something he didn't fully understand? Shame followed close behind, whispering that maybe I was the problem, too sensitive, too complicated, too unwilling to just let things be. But beneath it all was a stubborn flicker of truth. That night, after he fixed the light bulb and asked me to come to the bedroom, I saw how much we'd changed. How much I'd changed. I didn't want to lose him. But I was afraid I was already losing myself. It's been almost 3 weeks since that night. 3 weeks of quiet rooms and silent dinners, of words left unsaid and glances that flicker away before they land. The apartment feels like a halfway house for two people who used to be so close they could finish each other's sentences, but now, barely share the same air. Jake moves through the space like a ghost, present but distant. He's quieter than ever, and I catch him staring out the window more often, a faraway look in his eyes, like he's trying to solve something only he can see. I don't know if he's sad, or angry, or just lost. Maybe all three. I used to believe he'd come to me when things got hard, but now I'm not sure if he even knows how. The nights are the worst. I lie awake listening to the faint rhythm of his breathing, wishing I could reach across the space between us and pull him closer, but the words that used to come so easily now feel like sharp knives, too dangerous to use. Sometimes, I think I see the weight he carries in the slump of his shoulders or the tiredness in his eyes, and my heart breaks for him. He's hurting too, I know that much. I miss him. Not just the man he was, but the man he still is, the one who laughed when he saw me dance in the kitchen, the one who held my hand like it was the most precious thing in the world. But I'm scared. Scared that if I try to reach out and he pulls away, it'll shatter me. Scared that the gap between us has grown too wide to cross. Last night, I found a note tucked under my coffee mug. It was simple, "I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this either." No signature, but I knew it was from him. It was the first sign that maybe he's feeling as lost as I am, that he wants to try, but doesn't know where to start. I'm caught between hope and despair. I want to believe we can find our way back, that the love buried beneath the silence and distance can still grow. But I also wonder if love alone is enough when the parts of us that used to connect seem to speak different languages now. Sometimes, I imagine walking away, leaving behind the memories, the pain, the quiet cold. Maybe it would be easier. Maybe it would save us both. But then I think about the nights when he'd hold me close, whispering promises under his breath, and the way his eyes would light up when he saw me smile. And I realize, maybe I'm not ready to give up yet. So here I am, sitting on the edge of what feels like a broken dream, trying to decide if I have the courage to pick up the pieces, or if it's finally time to let go. The night was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses in on you, making every breath feel heavier. Jake was on the couch, curled up under a thin blanket, his face turned away from me. I had spent the evening pacing the apartment, rehearsing what I wanted to say, but when the moment came, the words caught in my throat. Instead, I sat beside him, close enough to feel the steady rise and fall of his chest, but careful not to disturb him. After a long pause, he shifted and opened his eyes, meeting mine with a softness that broke through the wall we'd built between us. "Clara," he whispered, voice rough but sincere. "I don't want to lose you." The vulnerability in his words was a fragile bridge, and I leaned in slowly, letting my head rest lightly against his shoulder. No promises, no grand declarations, just the quiet comfort of being near someone who still mattered. We talked then, haltingly, about the things we'd been avoiding, the frustration, the distance, the way our love had cooled like a fading ember. We admitted our fears, mine of being invisible, his of not knowing how to reach me. Boundaries were sketched out, not perfectly, but enough to start. It wasn't a miracle fix. There were no fireworks, no sudden bursts of passion. Just the beginning of something new, a tentative, honest attempt to find each other again. As I lay awake later, listening to Jake's even breathing on the couch, I felt a bittersweet ache settle in my chest. We had miles to go, but for the first time in a long time, I believed we might walk the road together, not as perfect lovers, but as two flawed people willing to try. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to admit defeat. But here I am, talking to you like I'm confessing a truth I barely dared to face myself. What we went through, what I felt, it changed me. Maybe it changed us, maybe it didn't. But it changed me, and that's what matters now. For years, I thought love was supposed to be this effortless thing, something that just happened naturally, like breathing. When Jake and I were young, that's exactly how it felt. I remember the way his hand fit around mine like it was made for me, how his laugh used to be the soundtrack to my favorite nights. There was fire, desire, connection, and I believed it would last forever. But it didn't. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the warmth faded. Not with a bang or a fight, but with silences that stretched too long, touches that didn't reach all the way, and words we left unspoken because we were too scared to break the fragile truce. I lost myself in trying to hold on, to the idea of us, to the safety of what we'd built. But the harder I held, the more I realized that sometimes, love isn't enough. Sometimes, love doesn't fill the spaces that silence carves out. I learned that desire isn't just about physical closeness. It's about being seen, really seen, and wanting to be seen in return. Desire is vulnerability, risk, a willingness to unravel and say, "Here I am. Take me or leave me." It's about the messy parts, the doubts, the fear, not just the glossy moments we want to show the world. Emotional intimacy? That's even harder. It's the courage to say what scares you the most, to sit with someone in the darkness without trying to fix it or run away. I learned that it requires patience and trust, but also honesty, a brutal, beautiful honesty that can both heal and break you. Jake and we got tangled in the idea that love could be fixed with a kiss, or a touch, or a whispered apology. But I needed more than that. I needed to feel safe enough to fall apart, to rebuild, to grow. And sometimes, he just needed space to be his own broken self too. Neither of us was perfect. Neither of us had all the answers. In the end, whether he stayed or not, whether we found our way back to each other or walked separate paths, that night after the light bulb, the moment I realized the light was flickering, changed everything. It forced me to look inward, to confront my fears and my truths. I saw how much I'd sacrificed pieces of myself in the name of love, how easy it is to lose who you are when you stop fighting for your own light. So here's what I want you to know, whoever you are, wherever you're listening from, love isn't just about holding on. Sometimes, it's about knowing when to let go. Not to give up, but to free yourself, to find your own light, even if that means walking away from someone you love. Because the hardest thing isn't losing someone else. It's losing yourself. And no matter how much it hurts, you have to protect your own soul first. I don't have all the answers. I still stumble, still wonder if I did enough, if I was enough. But I've learned that's okay. That pain and growth live side by side. That sometimes, being honest with yourself is the bravest kind of love there is. So, if you ever find yourself sitting in the dark, wondering if you're fading away, listen closely, you're not alone. And maybe, just maybe, that flicker inside you, the one you think is too small to matter, is the light that will guide you home.